Hey, here we are, Eastbourne, East Sussex, England. This is going to be a stroll along the seafront from the, say, the Wish Tower, the Lifeboat Museum. Here we are. We've got on the left, we've got some bathing huts. The bathing huts you can hire actually on a daily or a weekly basis. £30 a day, and I think about £150, £175 a week in high season. There we are, and a nice new clean and refreshing restaurant, French restaurant. Good food, good service. I've been there, and I'm definitely going to go back again. So it's all completely new. There used to be an old sort of a tired cafe there. The council redid it, and then now they've rebuilt that completely. Here we are, Holywell. This is the far end of the Eastbourne seafront. These chalets here, they're available for hire. There's a waiting list, so don't expect to get one quickly. Prices, I think, for a non-resident is about £3,600 a year. They're only available on a yearly basis. There's gas, water, light, electricity, but you can't overnight in them. So it's not really viable if you're not a resident. And here we had a royal visit in 1935. King George and Queen Mary. They visited Eastbourne, and there's the chalet they used. A little bit of interesting history there. There's a picture of the King George and his wife, Queen Mary. The view they would have seen looking over hopefully a bit better weather anyway. Here we have Italian gardens. These are Italian gardens. They're built in sort of the early 20s. After the First World War, they used unemployed men to do it. They employed them to do it, as they put it that way. Very pleasant here, as you can see the little picture there, 1922. So it's quite a bit of history there, nearly 100 years old. Very pleasant, secluded. When the wind's not blowing anyway, it's quite peaceful there. In the summertime, they're putting on Shakespearean plays. They usually have something like a Midsummer Night's Dream and these kind of plays here. And then they sort of lock down the area, and you can't use it as a park. As you can see up on the top of the screen there's railings. There's a pathway all around. They block that off as well in the summer when there's Shakespearean plays are being performed. There we are, 1922. Somebody's moved in. Unfortunately, this is what you'll see a lot of along the seafront. There's sort of open air chalets along the seafront, and you usually see somebody, sort of a couple of tents in there, or a tent, or at least a sleeping bag, and a bike maybe, and people sleeping rough. Unfortunately, still can't be helped in this day and age. A little bit about Eastbourne. Eastbourne is about 100,000 people living in there, and quite a lot of elderly. They sort of tend to come down here and retire. A lot of new flats and that kind of thing at the far end of the Eastbourne, or the other end of Eastbourne, Sovereign Harbour. Quite a nice area. I'll do perhaps a video of that at another stage. The average age is 43, and when you compare that with London, for example, which is 8 million people, it's 33. So they give you sort of an idea of the demographic here. You'll notice it in the town. The shops are geared up for elderly people. It's not a vibrant town like Brighton is, a little bit further along the coast. There's just a lot of students, universities, and that kind of thing. There's some schools in Eastbourne and universities in Eastbourne. So in the summertime, you get a lot of summer students, foreign summer students, which, that sort of really sort of lowers the average age, but that's where I met my wife. Actually, she's Norwegian, a summer student there. Here we are strolling up to the top. As you can see, a lot of places to sit and relax and look out. We're looking back down Holywell. Down below there is a cafe, by the way. And here we are. More seats. As I see, not a lot of people. It was a bit blustery and a bit chilly that day. I went for the walk. Summertime, it's completely different. TV series Falls War. I don't know if you've seen that, but some scenes were filmed here. Funk Hole, I think, was one of them. I don't know. Anyway, there are several scenes around Eastbourne because Hastings is sort of the next town along. More seats, plenty of seats. Anyway, as regards Eastbourne, a lot of people, famous people, have lived here. For example, Lewis Carroll wrote Alice in Wonderland, Alice Through the Looking Glass. Ernest Shackleton, the Antarctic explorer. George Orwell, who wrote Animal Farm in 1984. There's a pub just outside of Eastbourne called the Red Lion, which was focus, or some of it was in Animal Farm. Charles Dickens stayed here. You know, the one that wrote Christmas Carol, David Copperfield. And I think Karl Marx actually stayed here. I'm not too sure about that. Anyway, here we are strolling along. In the summertime, it's nice to sort of stroll along here because there's less traffic, put it that way, because you've got people wambling along and you've got the Dotto train on the lower level. So it becomes pretty crowded, but up here it's usually quite secluded, and you can sort of stroll in your own pace without too much hassle. There's no cycling here, you're not allowed to cycle. Looking out to sea. Well, we can't quite see it, but we'll get a little view. There we are. Not a lot of people bathing. As I said, it was a bit blustery that day. Now, as I say, we're up on the top level. In a short while, we'll go down to the lower level and continue along there a little bit. Here we go. There's several sort of places you can get down to the lower level, save you having to walk right to the pier or right to the Holywell to get down. There's several ways you can get down. And here we are, nice little stroll. More seats to sit on. And as I was going to say, walking along the top, be careful where you step, because people who take their dogs for walks, they're not always interested in clearing up after them, so be careful. Don't ruin your shoes by treading in something undesirable. Now here we are again. As you can see, there's several ways to get down and several ways to get up, but we're going to go all the way down. And the wall, sort of wooden fencing between the beaches, they're called the groins, and they're to stop erosion, because what happens is the waves tend to sort of roll the stones around along the coast. I don't know when it was, maybe 20-25 years ago. All the beach was virtually gone, so they've had to spend millions putting in new groins and bringing shingle out from the channel.